Hey, Star Wars fans and Rule the Galaxy fans, welcome back to chapter 120 of the Rule the Galaxy podcast. We just found out that Dave's cat knocked his computer and everything off his table while he was getting ready to record. So DDoc will be back with us in a minute, but this is Joe in the pilot seat. And while we've got our regular co-hosts of DDoc and Alfie with us, we'll also have a special guest of T-Bob hopping on in a minute. But while DDoc's getting ramped up, remember to always follow us at Rule the Galaxy SW on Twitter, Rule the Galaxy SW at gmail.com, just Rule the Galaxy on Facebook and YouTube. And I'll start off with my cousin Alfie, who's grabbing a drink here. Alf, how you doing, my man?
Doing good. I say it every week, and every week it just gets worse. The hectic rush to get here and get everything done before 9 o'clock. I can't find my charging cord for my laptop. I'm butted up against a security update, so we'll see how long it lasts.
Hey, you know what? We'll make it through. We'll make it through. And if you hop out,
that's things that I tell my wife every night. That's crazy.
So you hear that voice. He's one of our regulars. He is, again, our first ever guest we had on Rule the Galaxy. T-Bob. T-Bob is with us, and everybody loves him. Everybody loves to hear him bring his fantastic views to the show. T-Bob, thanks for being back on. And how's everything going?
Joe, Alfie, DDoc, what up, y'all? Or future DDoc, whenever he gets back in. It's going well, man. It's going really well. Me and my family just made it through the Omicron last week, so I'm finally feeling a little better, juiced up. Episode 4 of Book of Boba Fett, I think definitely helped a lot. I freaking love it. Been loving this season, and I love nerding out about it, and I'm very excited to do so right now.
Well, I have to ask you, you have your own podcast about Mandalore and Mandalorians. Have you started that back up now that Boba's back on?
So we are, this is, I guess it's just kind of morphed into, it's basically going to be, we'll probably do one for like every new show, right? So it's a For Mandalore podcast, and we did an episode for every episode of the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian, and now we're doing one episode for every Book of Boba Fett episode as well. So this is actually my second time talking about Boba Fett in a podcast form today. I'm excited.
Okay, well, good. You should have all your points ready to go and be able to knock them out in this episode. Hey, DDoc, you're back with us. Sorry about the cat incident there.
Yeah, this is my first episode in my basement headquarters. All my figures are gone behind me. It's just an abyss. So, my cat was pissed off that I shut the door, and she decided to knock over my router and knock everybody off the internet. So
those cats,
we're good.
You know, there's a reason. Those are like, they're witches, the devil. Cats are they're devilish creatures, right? I mean, T-Bob, do you have cats?
No, I mean, you're not entirely wrong. I do have a cat, but I guess you could say that I'm friends with the devil. I got a cat that I picked up off the streets of Baton Rouge in college back in 2009, and the
still around,
still holding it down. Yeah, I'll never forget him. I saw him on the street there, and I just had a piece of string cheese in my pocket, and I gave it to him. We were boys ever since.
Oh my God.
And the name Gerald popped into my head. So his name is Gerald.
Okay.
He's old. He is getting old though, but he's a chill old dude.
And here's one of my pups. He just, for those of you on YouTube, he cannot go without being right next to me. So I created a dog mat right behind me during the show so he can camp out. That's Rizzo behind me. But I'm look, guys, we got tons to talk about. I'm so glad everybody's here. And if Alfie, if you hop out, hopefully you can hop back in. But before we start into the Book of Boba Fett, episode 4, I had a few things that just popped up that I wanted to hit on before we started. One, and Alfie, I always go to you for the Book of Alfie on this. Bo-Katan or Bo-Katan series, is it happening or not? I'm seeing rumors galore. I'm seeing people talk about it all over the internet. Is that going to happen? Yes or no? Katie Sackhoff, Bo-Katan series on her own.
I don't know, but it convinced Ming-Na Wen. She retweeted and then sent a message to her congratulating her on the series. So she did quickly delete that. So either she found out she was really wrong, or someone called and said, hey, we're not ready to announce that yet.
Gotcha.
But I mean, as far as the character, popular, fits in, I think, where we're going in the story. You know, I think Book of Boba Fett is kind of showing you how to do these little one-off characters right here to give you a little backstory and then feed right back into the main story.
Agreed. I think everybody would be happy with that. But yeah, right now it's just a rumor. Speaking of more rumors, did you guys all see the fake or not fake Knights of Ren preview reel that was on all over the internet? Did you guys check out that video?
Yes.
No, I did not. I did not hear about any of this.
Yeah, Knights of Ren. It looked very official, but then it looked like somebody was filming it from like where they shouldn't be filming it, and it got out there, and then everybody's been trying to hide it and all that kind of stuff, but it keeps showing up in different places. Nobody can tell if it's real or not. I heard a Disney exec said it wasn't real. Alfie, well, what are you knowing about
Well,
that?
like they're going to say that it's real. To me, it looked like some people with a lot of technology available to them and a good idea, maybe a little sizzle reel to kind of explore the possibility or what it could look like.
Yeah, go ahead, DDoc. Of course, DDoc's got the cat probably messing with him again. Go ahead.
If anybody needs maybe a little moment in the sun, it would be the Knights of Ren, because right now they are. I mean, they're nothing. And look, I'm sure that there are comics and novels that go into this, but I do think there's sometimes a difference in what you've done in canon and live action, right?
Yep.
And like they were just complete nothing, nobody, afterthoughts, like, oh, that's a really cool piece of concept art, that's a character now, and then just like never explored again. So I would be down if something like that was real, for sure, to maybe just like okay, the same way that all the Filoni stuff has always just made the prequels better by enriching that world and making it better. They've been doing a lot of that with the sequels, right? And this would be right in line with that if they were to do that with the Knights of Ren.
Agree. Go ahead, Alfie.
Yeah, you go back and get on YouTube and just watch some of the reaction videos to that trailer for The Force Awakens, where they pop on the screen for half of a second. People were hyped to know what was up with those guys.
Yeah.
That was a badass scene.
Yep.
And it went nowhere. We did nothing with that.
Nothing with them, except at the end, then they're just like, we hate you, Kylo. I hate you guys. I don't know.
Yeah. I think everybody would like that. And you're right. Anything that enriches the story, and we'll talk about that more with Book of Boba Fett, anything that enriches the story of these movies, I'm all for it. So if they brought out Knights of Ren series, I think it's something that's lacking. It could help. So it looks like Bad Batch season 2 got a nice little surprise announcement without anybody really knowing that it was going to happen. Spring of 2022, Bad Batch season 2 is going to be released. Alfie, what was that released in or on? Was it the Star Wars Insider?
Yes.
That got released? Okay.
And it's also been moved to the coming soon page, the spring titles for Disney Plus.
Oh, wow.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good. I mean, look, I think we all thought Bad Batch season 1 was pretty good. We liked the direction it was going, the characters, the story. I thought everybody held it in pretty high esteem. I think what we're all wondering now is that going to be what's following Book of Boba Fett, or is it going to be Obi-Wan? Because I think Bad Batch season 2 is going to be 16 episodes, like just like the first season. If so, that's 16 weeks. That's 4 months of Bad Batch before we ever get to the Obi-Wan series.
I wouldn't be surprised with that length if they overlapped.
Okay, maybe one ending and one starting around May.
Yeah,
I could see. I mean,
or even like a Wednesday, Friday.
Yeah, like have they explicitly said they don't want to be releasing both at the same time? Because I do feel like there might be there's a definite different level of gravitas between the two shows in terms of importance, I guess I should say.
They haven't. Now I know Marvel has gone to where they're doing Wednesday, Friday on some things, correct? Haven't they done some Wednesday, Friday releases, or isn't that in their plans with all these shows they've got coming out in 2022? So I mean, I would be all for it. The one a week thing is great if it's going to be boom, 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 one right after the other, but it also spreads things out pretty well, or too much, in my opinion. I'd much rather have maybe a Wednesday, Friday release if you've got enough content to put in there. But look, we know for sure that's coming. We still haven't heard an actual time when Obi-Wan's coming. So might be Bad Batch season 2 coming up next. So we'll see. Well, you know what? Maybe we'll see some more Fennec Shand in season 2 of Bad Batch after she gets them with the Book of Boba Fett here. So did you guys see this, or was it just me? And we do a Star Wars podcast, so I constantly am looking for something to talk about on here. But The Force Awakens, J.J. Abrams.
I was wondering if you're going to bring this up.
J.J. Abrams was wanting to blow up Coruscant in The Force Awakens. Lucasfilm said absolutely not. And so they settled on, okay, the government's moved away from Coruscant. It's now on Hosnian Prime. We'll let you blow up Hosnian Prime. Did you see that? And it'd be great if we had a making of these stories like we did with the original trilogy and the prequels, to where we could go back and look at that. But we don't have, correct me if I'm wrong, we don't have a making of The Force Awakens right now with these stories and details, right?
I think there's behind. I remember there is one. I think that was attached to the Amazon movie that when I bought it maybe many years ago. I'm not sure. But wait, I always assumed they blew up Krrsantan. Was it explicitly stated that was not Krrsantan on screen in the movies?
No, that's just it. In the movie, you were in the moment. You didn't know what was going on, right? You didn't know what was getting blown up, and everybody's looking around going, "Is that Coruscant?" And then we found out afterwards it was, or maybe it was discussed afterwards.
Wow. No, I don't remember it in the movie. This entire time, I've just always assumed that Coruscant was blown up. That's kind of that's.
I don't think it's stated, but the planet had moons around it and did not look like Coruscant in the prequels.
Yeah. And it probably was in an Art of or something like that book later on, right? Where it was stated it was Hosnian Prime.
Right. And it's really even hard to see that the fleet gets destroyed.
Right. They're getting hit while they're out there in the orbit around it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I loved Force Awakens. Like I left that movie like feeling like, a hair been blown back. It was such a fun ride.
Yep.
But that was one of the weaker part of the movies. Is it was not very easy to always discern who exactly was fighting, what were the motivations, who was taken out. Like it was a lot of great characters, but the larger meta strokes sometimes were just kind of not thrown in as an afterthought, but they weren't really focused on.
That's something that I'm definitely going to hit on when we're talking about the Book of Boba Fett here in a minute. Is some of the things in this series are things that could have helped, not actually these things, but giving some depth like that to the sequels would have made it to where I think a ton of fans would have said, okay, I'm all in, and I'm going to get rid of that anger or hatred I have of this or that. But Boba Fett is doing a good job of being a rich, deep story leading you into something. So it was shocking to see that was the case. I didn't know there was actually like back and forth between JJ and Lucasfilm, but yeah.
If you read more into it, there was a lot between the Lucas story group and Bad Robot, as far as them saying, hey, you're not following, we had this job to do to set all this stuff up, and you're not following the story that we've built.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hopefully someday a book actually will come out of that, and we'll be able to read it and see all the inside, because I think fans want that.
Making of book. I love a good making of. I just read a 2001 Space Odyssey making of. Now I'm reading Lord of the Rings making of, which I'm obsessed with the Lord of the Rings appendices, but still this book is like blowing my mind. So yeah, I would love if we could get something on the sequels.
How apropos you talking about Lord of the Rings when we've got the what's the new show on Amazon Prime, the new series? Isn't it going to be a prequel?
Yeah, it's on the second age.
Is it the Rings of Power?
Yes, the Rings of Power. So it's when Sauron's all bebopping around, all pretty and nimbly bimbly, getting up in all the humans' ears and being like, "Hey, that dude was talking shit about you. You're the fucking man. Why you do that? Those elves, it's shady."
Oh,
I gotta say, it was wild to see a photo of Jeff Bezos with the Lord of the Rings logo. Like, did you see that photo?
Yes.
I don't think I did.
I was like, yeah, it's funny because I actually just binge watched The Hobbit the other day. I watched all 3 movies, And then I was watching a bunch of Peter Jackson behind the scenes stuff. And then the next day, I see a picture of Jeff Bezos and the new Lord of the Rings show thing. And I'm just like, is Howard Shore going to do the soundtrack for this? I got like really nervous when I saw it, actually. I'm excited, but I'm nervous.
I'm cautiously
Can you guys,
optimistic.
Yeah, me too.
can you hear me good too, by the way?
Yeah,
I
you
had to
sound good.
do a room switch in the middle of the show. So
Yeah, you're like a literal magician.
You're
All the-
live
good.
television.
You're good. Hey, so I'll just, like I said, T-Bob hit it well. Bebop. I'm going to bebop around these topics, and then we'll head into Book of Boba Fett. But I did start today the High Republic Fallen Star by Claudia Gray, narrated by Marc Thompson, one of our pals and guests on the show. It's interesting. It's interesting, and there's a lot going on. I mean, you need to have a character chart in front of you to be like, oh, that's who they're talking about. That's who they're talking about. There's a lot of characters. So I've said that before. But I will say this. I really liked that he's doing obviously the voices for this. He's got two voices. One of them, if you guys listen to the audiobook, you'll hear it. Sounds almost exactly like Dr. Evil from Austin Powers. Every time I hear it, I'm like, I'm being drawn to Austin Powers. And the other one sounds just like Matthew McConaughey. And I sit there and I just crack up, and I'm like, I mean, the guy's almost like, all right. I mean, that's how much he's doing it. But I mean, that's just the way he's got to have so many voices, right? So he's got to pigeonhole, make them all sound unique. But man, he really does a great job. But I'm interested to see where it goes. But if you haven't read any of these books yet, they're pretty good, or listen to it.
I haven't listened. I mean, look, dude, to me, listen and read are interchangeable. Once you get used to listening to books on tape and you, you retain the information, it's the exact same. I love Audible, and a great narrator. I mean, the Lord of the Rings, Rob Inglis, are like some of the favorite of my entire life. A great narrator, man, can just,
oh yeah, knocks it out of the park. Yeah, he is great. Two last quick things. One, I last week put up a poll. Who do you want to see show up as a cameo in Book of Boba Fett? We had 321 votes. The winner of the voting was Han Solo. Next was Dr. Aphra. Third was Omega. And last was Mace Windu. Now, I would have put other people in there, but great old Twitter only allows you to do four things as a choice for your poll. So that's what I went with. A lot of people were sending me Cad Bane. A lot were sending me Captain Rex, Bosk, Din Djarin. But that I was surprised. There are people really buying in on the de-aged Han Solo being in this, or wanting him to be in there. So 321 votes.
Would we not? I mean, it does feel like Boba could be on a crash course with the Solo universe potentially. Do we not just go Alden Ehrenreich here?
You know what? I wouldn't be against it, but I don't know.
I fucking love Solo, dude. I would say bring Ehrenreich for sure. I mean, he did a good job in an impossible task.
He did.
It's a fun movie.
Yes, I agree. Alfie, DDoc, any thoughts on that poll or any of those people right there that were mentioned?
I mean, I would love for Solo to show up at, like, I agree. We don't need a de-age Solo. I mean, we had a new one, which I'm okay with moving forward with that. We have a younger guy to play the role. He could show up again in future episodes, and I can get used to that. I can accept that Han Solo is no longer 35 40 years, or Harrison Ford is no longer that young. Like, I can be okay with that.
Okay. That sounds pretty good, that here's a bunch of guys our age who are like, you know what, I can buy into it. Alden?
I also think that as far as the answer to the actual poll question goes, I mean, I still got to imagine that Boba's end game is leading him to a crash collision with Mace Windu. I mean, if you think about all the flashbacks to Kamino through the back to tank, it's literally Mace Windu killing his father is literally the single act that set him down the entire road that eventually ended in the Sarlacc pit before he was reborn. But like so Windu, I don't think it's a season 1 thing, the same way that maybe even like Luke wasn't. Like, I don't know when it happens, but that confrontation has to come eventually. And we all know Windu fell. He didn't,
See?
you don't die from falling.
That's exactly why I put him on the poll. And some people were ribbing me, like, "You got to be kidding! He's dead. Leave him." And I'm like, "Did you see him die? Did you? I'm like, no one saw him die.
And
If
now we know that Krrsantan wasn't destroyed.
that's
So,
right.
there
So,
you go.
so I tell you what, like I said, I've got a question from Willie Harms, but it goes along with Book of Boba Fett. And while we're watching it, we can ask that question. Do any of you guys have any topics you wanted to hit before we went into Chapter 4, The Gathering Storm of Book of Boba Fett? Anything that brought up or other topics? Because I monopolized all that time there. Alfie, go ahead.
DDoc, you watched the Lego trailer today, right?
Oh yeah, dude. That looks amazing.
I am
Is it
so
the
hyped for that game.
Skywalker Saga?
Yes.
Okay. I've been looking for a good game to play with my oldest daughter's almost 4, so she's like maybe just about ready for those.
Yeah, my
Lego,
daughter's
yeah.
excited for it.
Heck yeah, dude.
Yeah, the graphics on it look amazing, and it looks like I can't help but to watch it and be like, why can't I just get a real version of the Star Wars game just like this? I love Lego. I mean, I still build Legos constantly, but yeah, it looks really good. It looks like they put a lot of love into it. I know they've been working on it for years, so I'm hyped
I'm
on it.
replaying Jedi Fallen Order right now, and that's a fantastic game. It really is.
Alfie, you and DDoc, you guys have both played Jedi Fallen Order, right?
Yes,
Okay.
just not very well.
I would get lost in that game, but then like sometimes I would just look around and I would like take out my phone and take a picture just because I found like a nice view on the map. I'm just like, I'd just be sitting there, go work on your lightsaber, change the colors. The story of that game was really great. I don't, as I've gotten older, I don't finish story modes of video games as much as I used to when I was a kid. And that was one that just locked me in where I'm just like, I was so bought into that story.
I
Yeah,
agree.
that was a great story.
Well,
Because-
T-Bob, I know you're into games as well. You like to play like these guys. I live vicariously through them. I haven't played a Star Wars video game in decades. It just doesn't.
I mean, well, they've definitely been hit or miss. I'll say this: I never played KOTOR back in the day, and so I am beyond excited for the Knights of the Old Republic remaster that
Mhm.
they're going to do, and I will be first in line to play that.
Well, I will watch these guys play it. They'll let me go Twitch it and I'll follow them. So
I have 2 goals for Joe. One is for him to build a Star Wars Lego, and 2 is for him to play a Star Wars video game. We need to get those done in 22. It needs to happen.
Yeah, I was like, I'm already addicted to like cocaine and heroin. Like, I can't. Like, I mean, like, you want me to pick up another job? I don't know, dude.
gosh, I tell you what, when we're in Nashville, you guys take a game system with us. When we're in Nashville for the ICC or the ICCC convention, you bring the game and a Lego set, and some night after we leave the convention, I'll sit there and work on that. But you'll see I have no patience, so I can't. I'm like a kid. I'm like a puppy dog. I just follow whatever shiny object is going on. So I can't sit and do that very well. So that's why I can't believe I'm hosting a podcast, because my attention span is about this big. So anyway, you know what? Like I said, my question from Willie Harms will plug into the show notes and talking about the show, but let's just hit it. Book of Boba Fett, number 4, The Gathering Storm. I guess before we hit it, T-Bob, we've obviously the 3 of us have talked about this a lot. What do you think about it so far leading up to this? What have you thought about episodes 1, 2, and 3 leading up to this episode right here?
I think they've been fantastic. And I don't mean this and just, I mean, now look, I'm a naturally optimistic person, but I have genuinely enjoyed the show. And it doesn't mean that I don't have little quibbles with it, because one of the things that I haven't always that hasn't always worked with me that I absolutely love about this show is it is going for a very distinctive style to me, and it is taking some chances. And I don't know if it's always working, right? Like, I didn't think the parkour action in that first episode was terribly good. Like, I thought it felt very slow. The car chase was filmed in this almost like 90s like TV movie sort of way, but with like more production value. And there's a level of cheese there where again, it's like, I don't know if that fully worked, but at the end, I would so much rather, because most of it is working for me. I love all the colors. I love all the cyberpunk stuff we're seeing. I love the cyber teens. Like I'm into all of that. And it's new. We're getting some new stuff in Star Wars. So like ultimately, even the stuff that isn't fully landing with me, I would much rather have that than just a more generic, run-of-the-mill, samey type of action and shots, because it is new and there is a distinctive style and artistic vision there. So as far as how the show is made, I've really been enjoying it from that angle. And I'm truly loving this story of rebirth that we're getting out of Boba Fett. And I've loved the idea of the back to tank basically being that chapter marker, letting us know, okay, now we're going back in time, right? I'm like Pavlov's dog. I see the back to tank. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Okay, let's go to the past. See what's going on. Like it's a great little filmmaking trick, right? You immediately know. And I think that this episode especially represented a bit of a seismic shift for me, because I now fully understand the timeline we're in, and it drastically changes how I view a lot of what we've seen thus far. And I now feel that I finally understand Boba's motivations for all of this. Where Mando, that was easy. It's a classic thing. They use this all the time. You know, the old guardian like a little kid. That's a easy hook. You understand where that person's coming from. Trying to find what's driving Boba was a more circuitous path, but I do feel like we really landed there this episode.
Agreed. Way agree. I mean, that I tweeted about this the other day, and I was like, look, for all the people out there complaining about this or that, and that's what they're using social media for, is just Complaintville, right? It's just like, hey, we're going to park it here. We're in Complaintville. I looked at it and I thought, the reason I like this Boba Fett series is the depth, is the background.
Yes.
It is building not only the world building, but character building. And like you said, it is a complete rebirth. Somebody said,
oh, sorry.
You're right.
That's my audio is going through my computer.
But I'm sitting there and thinking, some people are, oh, well, this isn't the Boba Fett that I grew up with or knew. Really? You knew him for 6 minutes. I mean, you knew him for 6 minutes and he's in a cool outfit. So that's all you know of him. And then you knew him for another 4 or 5 minutes in the prequels. So what you know is about 10 minutes of this guy and what he went through. You're seeing now the depth and the character of this person and what he's really looking for and what he wants to be, instead of what he's had to be since his father's untimely death by Mace Windu. So yeah, I agree wholeheartedly, and I'm glad you're enjoying it. I think this one, we talked about it last week, where we felt like, okay, killing off the Tuscans, it's planting the flag. That part of the story is done, right? We have stopped. We know where that built that to. Now we're going to move on from here. And I think we saw that in this episode, where we also saw the boom right into the tie-in of Mandalorian, almost, a few minutes into the show. So I'll let you guys give some of your initial thoughts, but T-Bob, I'm glad you're enjoying it so far. Alfie, DDoc, any initial thoughts of what we're seeing in this episode of the Gathering Storm Book of Boba Fett?
I'll go ahead. I basically agree with T-Bob. I've just enjoyed the story building of this show so far, and I've been having patience with it, which people seem to not have. I mean, you know what it is just a small group of people who complain about it get a lot of attention on Twitter, because I do know a lot of people are enjoying this show. There's just a lot of layers to it. And you know what I thought, actually, I watched it twice last night. I love the difference between present day Boba and seeing his attitude when he got Fennec and was talking to her. He does play two different characters in the show pretty well, I think. Like he definitely had a lot of anger in him still when they were sitting at that campfire, and he told her, I am Boba Fett, like, I don't know. I've just been enjoying the layers of the show so far.
Yep.
And this one just doubled down on everything, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, it's you mentioned patience, but like the same people that I would guess complaining about anything pacing related right now probably hated episode 4 of season 1 when you were on Tatooine and you met
Right.
Fennec Shan, and that felt like such a nothing episode at the time. But like in this episode, and it was funny rewatching season 1 and the run up to this, all of a sudden that episode you knew was going to play a way bigger role. And so like the second those flares went up, it was like everything changed for me because all of a sudden the timeline
Yep.
clicked into place. I did not realize. So that means that he has spent essentially 5 years with the Sand People.
Yep.
I mean, so
Right.
like if we're talking about a guy who goes from being complete lone wolf psychopath who grew up ever since 12 years old or whatever with no dad, like doing crazy criminal shit on the run, to now somebody who is more strategic and merciful and all of these things. Well, he had time to change.
Mhm.
And he had time to finally learn what it's like to be a part of a family and a community and understand that you are stronger together and what it means to love someone and have them love you. Like the fact that I now know that it's been 5 years makes everything so much more impactful to me.
Yep. Yep. Agreed. Alfie, hit it.
I love this episode. I love this series. I agree with you guys. The layers, the story. I don't get the complaining about that because if you think back a few years ago, people were complaining about no story in, the sequels. Well, we don't know who Snoke is, Well, in 30 seconds in this episode, Boba Fett lays it all out. He gives the whole story, his whole plan, what he wants,
Yep.
where he came from and where he's going. And I mean, this episode to me was like everything in the movies, the EU, comic books. I mean, you just threw it all in one episode. And I honestly can't believe that we get to see something like this every week.
Agreed. I'll go back to the flares thing again. That's what really, like you said, T-Bob, it just caught me. As soon as I saw the flares, everything was like, we're going in a new direction now with this story. Obviously, we see him find Finnick in her body there near death. Everybody who complained about the mods from last week, which was further ahead of time, which we're now going back in time, right, to meet the mods at the shop. It clicked because then I thought, well, wait a minute. When he finds out it's the mods who are having problems in the streets, these are people who he kind of feels indebted to because the guy saved Finnick's life, right? So I know. So it's just like I watched it and I was like, whoa, that connects now. But I did love the mod shop. I loved it. It felt like you were in a tattoo parlor. He didn't want to cover up her metal and her machinery. It's almost like I don't want to cover up my artwork right there, right? I'll ask you guys. You're younger than me.
Well,
Thundercat.
I love.
Do we know who
Thundercat?
Thundercat is?
I had to look it up.
I had to look it up too.
And that
So-
was his music that played too.
really.
Yeah.
I think we lost Alfie for a second.
It's funny because I had a brain fart moment where he walked in there and I'm like, shouldn't they know who he is? And then I'm like, wait a second, this is in the past. Like, yeah, I thought that was really cool. And I mean, I feel like the special effects of them showing her stomach getting rebuilt, was incredible. I mean, they put a lot of detail into that. And especially when she woke up and was looking at it and you got the tubes filling with the blue and red and everything. Like it was wild.
Yeah.
Was it just me or did the mod artist, I guess, did he open up a miniature lightsaber when he first started? It looked like he hit something, a little tiny lightsaber came out that he started doing the incisions with, which I
just
would
remember
guess
his-
would
his
cauterize the
arm-
skin.
Yeah, I think like his arm split. I just remember his arm splitting into some tools. I'm not entirely sure. Wait, were y'all talking about who did the music for the
Yeah,
mod stuff?
that's what you're talking about. The Thundercat, who I had no
Oh.
idea who he was the artist who did the work on Fennec Shan, but Alfie said that was his music as well.
Oh, no way. I was just about to say, I love the music, dude. And that had another great, almost like 90s level of like Matrixy sort of like hackers kind of vibe and feeling to it that really resonated with me.
Go ahead, Alfie.
Did you catch the super battle droid hand that he had originally?
Oh, no.
No.
He has a super battle droid hand.
And then like instead of a gun popping out, it opens
Yeah.
up and like the mod.
No, he
tool?
took that off and then put the
okay.
mod arm on.
Oh, no way, dude. So he's normally rolling around just strapped then.
Oh man, that's awesome. I didn't pay attention to it. Okay, that is cool. To go along with this segment, Willie Harms, one of our great followers and listeners, he sent me a question and he said, especially with T-Bob on, he wanted to know this answer. If we went to the mod shop and became one of the mods that was, riding the swoop bikes or the speeder bikes, what would we want modified on each of
100%.
us? You already know what your answer is?
Yeah. Come on, like you wouldn't.
No, yeah, you're not. I guess you're not. You're not wrong. If such technology existed, there would be many a man who would have to have a real serious look in the mirror, literally and figuratively, and figure out how they feel about that.
So when he asked me that question,
Everybody, I don't know if this is related. It's not, but everybody makes fun of me for tiny hands, so I would get giant robot hands. I get sick giant robot hands that could do all kinds of cool tool stuff with my fingertips.
I'd want to be taller.
Okay, so maybe leg extension, something like
There
that.
you go.
I wrote back to him and I was like, it doesn't have to be PG, right? Because I know the guys who are going to be on my show, and I have a feeling I know what their answer.
You know where it was going to go right away.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I think.
See, right away, I'm thinking of tools that I could attach to my hand and shit like that. Like,
yeah, you would have the most mechanical. Well, I mean, I guess it does beg the question: do they have? Because this changes drastically. Or can they feel those prosthetics? They can operate them, but I wonder how refined the sense of touch is. Now, I mean, granted, Luke's hand seems to operate pretty freaking normally, so maybe you do have full sensation. I don't know.
Okay.
Well, one other comment on this too is like I was one of the people who at first when I saw these speeder bikes and the mods, I was kind of like, this is weird, but like it's really over the last 2 episodes, they've really grown on me. I think it's pretty damn cool. It fits into me. It's something new. How can you have something new in Star Wars unless you do something new? Basically,
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of what I'm thinking.
Well, and it ties in narratively with Boba's motivation, which we know now he is he's kind of becoming the people's champ, the common man's crime lord in a way. Like he wants to take in all the outcasts and the misfits and the muscle who have always been kind of pitted against one another and used as tools, and say, you know what? No, we're not tools. Yeah, it'd be like Dave's like hammer and screwdriver standing up to him and be like, fuck you, you do the work now. And then they take over. Like Boba's like gathering all the toolbox. And what a disparate crew he's got.
Right.
He's got the 2 pig bros, the Gamorreans, right? He's got, I keep calling him Krrsantan. I can't remember his name. That's all in That's a weird now it's a weird mnemonic thing. The Cyber Teens are on the squad. Fennec Shand. I mean, I don't know when you want to talk about this, but it seems like Din Djarin is about to come, and then who else comes along with him? Who knows? But yeah, he has a truly motley but powerful but motley crew that he's putting together.
Yeah, I'm loving it. I'm loving it, and I hate that the Tuskens got wiped out, the group that he was with. But I'm wondering if he can still piecemeal all the Tuskens together to be a part of his crew on Tatooine in the future. So,
well, you would think he would give them control of the desert. Like if he took over, right? Like they would be the ones running protection for the desert, I would assume.
Yep. Agreed. So real quick, Willie, just so you know, I probably would shoot for the thing that Alfie was talking about because, we're weird men, but DDoc or T-Bob wants
comically large
atomic hands. Alfie wants to be taller. DDoc was thinking about tools that he could put together and have them right there. I think I'd go with like the eyes and ears. If I wasn't choosing the other stuff, eyes to have like super sight and ears to be able to hear like supersonically, and all that kind of stuff. So that's our answers for that. But I think again they do a great job of tying the old and the new together because they're going back and they're checking out Jabba's palace and they're looking for his ship. And you see that where he goes on his own. He brings back Fennec. He lets go of his bantha which let's face it now, in just 4 episodes, we found that Boba Fett loves a Rancor and wants to pet him and treat him like a puppy. And same thing with the Bantha. You know, it was like he formed that relationship over 5 years with. So Boba Fett is an animal lover, is what
Yeah.
we're finding out. So I think it's pretty cool. More depth. Alfie, go ahead.
He let the Bantha go in unless we get surprised. The Bantha's the last part of the tribe.
He rolls back in with like some Bantha bros at the end. It's like, I came back.
You know, everyone in the Tuscan tribe, minus 2 people we didn't see, they're all dead now.
Yeah.
The Bantha's the only one left.
Sad.
I will say this. I love all the practical effects in this show, but I've really enjoyed the puppet work with the Bantha. Even the eating scene where I'm sure there was some temptation or some people out there saying like, let's just CG it a little bit, right? We'll give the lips a little more life and maybe his teeth can match the food a little more. And they were like, no, dude, we're doing this like old school practical style. And to my brain, that shit just works. I love it.
I thought it was great too.
He looks so cool riding the Bantha, dude. Just looks so cool.
It kind of makes you want to have one, right? I mean, they just look like they'd be great pets and companions. But
I hate brushing my kids' teeth though, and those are like some big old chompers. And you actually see them, right? We've seen them multiple times on live action brushing Bantha teeth.
It would be a lot of work. A lot of plaque probably builds up in there. Yeah. So let's go back to Fennec again. Fennec, it's you see this in Star Wars over and over again. Basically owes him a debt. He saves her. She owes him a debt. And he says, hey, you help me get my ship back. You're clear. We're done. You don't have to help me anymore. That's all I need you for. I need somebody to help me to do this. And I love to see that there's that give and take. And she wasn't really in. She's ready to run. I'll pay my bounty. Let me out of here. Right. I'll get. But when she starts hearing his stories and his thoughts on wanting to run his own family, right, and wants to take over for Bib Fortuna, it starts changing in her. And especially when he says, look at all the people like us that have been killed because of their idiocy. People like that, they don't talk about things. They just send us out to kill people and to be killed. And it really switched with her because just like him, she's on her own. She's been on her own since, well, as far as we know, back to the Bad Batch time, which was right after the prequels. So she's maybe looking for that family as well. So I thought there was a lot of good depth and storytelling in there between those two, and getting them involved and basically starting up that new family. Alfie, like you said, he let go of the Bantha. That part of his family was gone, and Fennec was his new start to a new family. So, what are you guys' thoughts on any of that?
The Fennec droid that mapped out the complex, the probe droid, was pretty awesome.
It was great.
Also, I thought that we kind of talked some shit about Bib Fortuna at the beginning. Maybe he had run Jabba's empire into the ground, but I don't know. I think Bib was doing all right, man. He had a lot of muscle in there, which could be speaking of like an uneasy leader, but he had a lot of muscle in there. We all know how that he was playing a bunch of alliances against one another, and he was even rich enough to afford a Grievous chef bot. That guy was awesome. Grievous chef bot was excellent. I love that thing. That's another thing. I've loved the droid animatronics or the droid puppet work, and this has just been fantastic. And Grievous chef bot was just the latest star.
The engineer from the train reminded me of Grievous with all those arms. And then this one, you're right. The first 2 things that came to mind on both were Grievous. So go ahead.
Well, this one I think was like as direct as you could get, right?
Yeah.
When he just straight up.
When that little droid with the ears walked into the room, I was just like, the second I saw him, I was just like, I love this damn droid. I was like, I can't wait to see what this thing does. He just walks into the room with a little net. And I've seen on Twitter, people they're calling him a rat catcher. Is that like a common thing in Star Wars?
Well, I mean, it's a common thing back in like medieval times and stuff, right? Like, I don't know if it was like a person or maybe a dog or a cat or something, but yeah, I love that idea because they're out there in a kind of old desert looking palace. Yeah, man, there's little rats all around. It's a little rat catcher droid.
And they had the I'll teach you some respect droid in there too. The one who, was burning the feet, talking crap to R2D2, That was the first droid that Boba bonked right on the head when he came out. That scene was great.
I thought all of it was great. I thought getting the ship out of there was great. Just starting that new tale. They've got his ship back. The two of them are out there on their own. And he then gives her the plan of, I've got some things I want to do. There's an advantage of people not knowing that you're alive, or people thinking you're dead, right? And let's face it, those two are the only people that know each other are alive.
Yeah, it's fair. I didn't think about that. They're completely invisible in a lot of ways.
Right. So those two have a lot of things going for them.
And Finnick did shine in that escape, by the way, too. Like that was good action too. Like I said, the action's they've been going for it. It hasn't always landed with me in the show thus far. I thought she was really effective. It felt pretty realistic too. Like I believed it. And it was really smooth when she's just telling like, just shut the door. I got it. It's good. And as she's shutting the door, she just pulls back and pop, opens up the gate by shooting the counterweight. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, loved it. Loved it. Alfie or DDoc.
Think about Boba mowing down the motorcycle gang.
Oh yeah, next on the list. That's where I was going right there. They take off right before they do it. I love the line, and I Tom Line, believe it or not, I'm talking about a line, and one of our listeners, Tom Line, sends me a text the other day and just says, "I'll go for the ride," and I thought that line was great that she gave to Boba. But you're right. That next scene, Alfie, I know you had to be like a 12-year-old kid watching Fire Spray chase down a bunch of speeder bikes and just mow them down in the middle of the Tatooine desert.
Yeah, that scene was unbelievable. I loved it. And just the look on his face as he's pulling the trigger, that was pretty priceless. Yeah. Jumping back real quick, the little rat catcher droid, those were in the Clone Wars quite a bit.
Yep.
And then the cook droid was also in episode 2.
Oh, really?
When Padme and Anakin are on the passenger ship.
Wow, dude. No way.
Wow. The one makes
is it
you go away?
Is it canon that Grievous is just like a cook droid that went to a mod shop? He went to the mod shop on Tatooine and they just they reprogrammed a little bit. He lost it.
He got sick of his job.
He's like, fuck this. Some Jedi was an asshole to him one day. He sent his food back and he was like, never again. There was something, I'm not like an ASMR guy or anything, but man, there was something so satisfying about those chops on that cutting board. Like it was crazy. It was really just, it felt great.
The way he chopped so fast, but then his movements were so clunky. Like it was just something, that just really got your attention with that one. It was really satisfying.
Like you can't put your finger on it. And then the thing that I loved about the motorcycle gang shot too is that I think it's rare when we get the scale and power of these spaceships, right? Mm-hmm. Like you see it a little bit, definitely at Maz Kanata's in Force Awakens and other times like Rogue One a little bit. But man, they were just completely helpless when Slave was screaming down. And who hasn't always loved the fire spray sound effects? I mean, they're just fantastic.
Yeah. Speaking of sound effects from that, you mentioned earlier the Sarlacc pit. They go there, they check it out. She's like, be careful. They're getting in too tight. The lights go down into it. Here comes the beak that we were all asking about after the first episode of this series, because we're like, where's the beak? It's a special edition beak's not out there. Well, sure enough, it was still there. It grabs a hold of the ship, and then here's Fennec Shand dropping the seismic charge down into the pit. How great was that to hear that sound, see that rumble, and then watch as they have a campfire next to the dead Sarlacc pit and next to the blown up sail barge right behind them. I mean, that was just great scenery. I mean, you're sitting there and it's like there's having a campfire by fire spray and by the Sarlacc pit. Boom, Jabba sail barge blown up right behind them. I just thought it was great artwork on that. So
and I think like symbolically, it's very powerful to the story what happens there, right? One of my buddies on the For Mandalore pod was talking about this, that a lot of times with trauma victims and stuff, I don't know, he's just talking about he's had people who's been dealing with stuff like this recently. It's like you are kind of told sometimes to directly confront the source of your trauma, right? And in a lot of ways, even though he's looking for his armor, Boba is going back to this spot that represented death to him, because really this has almost been an entire story about rebirth. And so he's going back to this place of trauma, and what ends up saving him are the lessons that he learned from the Sand People. Somebody else helps him to save the day, right? The whole thing that we talked about, community and family, stronger together. So here he is going back to a place that once killed him, and it looks like it may kill him again, but the ways that he's grown have now directly saved him. And then him climbing out of the Sarlacc afterwards, just searching through its corpse. It's he's done. Like he doesn't have to think on it. He's just completely done with the Sarlacc, even though I felt so bad for him, because there's no showers there, and he was covered in like wool and guts, and like she just dumps water on his head. That's not doing anything. He must have smelled awful.
I especially loved in that part too when Fennec was like, she said your armor did its job. It saved you already. Like it was kind of like, it honestly felt like to me like almost like a mom being like, it's okay, you lost it, whatever, but like it did its job for you, let it go, and like that, I felt like that was kind of almost them building their relationship between the two of them, with him kind of being like, all right. And also a line from Fennec that you're muted, Joe. But also another line from Fennec, I don't know where it was in the timeline. I loved when she said the Tuskens made you soft to him.
Yep.
And
he proved that wrong when he slaughtered that bike gang. Basically.
Yeah, old Boba's not fully gone. This is
No.
just this is a more evolved Boba. He's not someone you mess with at the end. He's still got that face, that Tamora Morrison face, like when he's like, he's all wide-eyed and just smashing heads.
DDoc, what I was before I was muted, the thing that you brought up about her giving him kind of the mom talk, guys, Boba Fett doesn't have a mom. He's never had a mom.
Yeah.
Fennec Shand is, Alfie, what would you say, 10, in Star Wars years, 10, 15 years older than him?
Yeah, you would think so.
And so she has some very maternal things when she's talking to him, pouring the water on him, like when kid gets stuff on his face and the mom's wiping it off and all that kind of stuff. There were some very maternal things there. So she's smart, she's muscle, but at the same time, she definitely has, in my opinion, now that you brought that up, a very maternal thing, because one of the things we'll talk about in a minute is when he finally comes out of the Bacta-pod and the droid says, "You're completely healed," the first thing she says is, "What about the scars inside?" And so she's thinking bigger, not just is his arm broken, is whatever, it's his heart, his head, she's really looking into that. And I there's some really good things going on with that character right there. So anyway, I would just really like that.
I want her to be a maternal role, because I want Boba to end up with the owner of the bar. What's the cantina?
Garsa Whip.
Yeah. Twi'lek stock way up after it got kind of way down in Mando season 1, where the Twi'leks, they weren't great in that episode, the jailbreak episode. Like, no. It didn't really work visually too much. It wasn't the best. Way up this season. Are all of them? Just the entire race is just sexy males and females. Because we had the little cantina boy as well. It's like, if you're Twi'lek, you just have abs, I guess.
Alfie,
obviously not a Twi'lek, I guess.
It sure seems that way. But one thing I've noticed about Twi'leks is, what's the deal with the eyebrows? Why do some have eyebrows and some don't?
I guess I haven't even noticed that. I don't know.
No, I haven't paid attention to that. Is it the men don't have eyebrows, but the females do?
No, she does. But then the green guy and the yellow Twi'lek, they don't have eyebrows.
Huh.
You know who does has eyebrows now, and it's been awesome. Is Krrsantan, like the
Yes.
the new Wookiee mask work is so good
Yeah.
and so much more expressive and so much more alive than we have ever seen before. And this, I mean, I love Chewbacca. I've always loved Chewbacca. My dog's name is Chewbacca. But damn, this is one sexy Wookiee, dude. This dude is really making a play for my Wookiee heart.
Do you think he would have a better chance with Maz Kanata or Chewie?
I think he's a little too rough for Maz. I think Maz likes because like Maz likes the fact because Maz is rough, right? So she likes the fact that she views Chewie as kind of like a good boy, and I think she's into kind of corrupting him. There's no corrupting Chris. I mean, he's already as dark as dark can be. I mean, he's just ripping off arms. Even though, do y'all think he was so mad at those Trandoshans because the Trandoshans are traditionally slavers? And so I'm sure that some Trandoshans had like sold him into pit fighting back in the day.
That's a
I was
good
kind of
possibility.
assuming.
Yes.
I felt like somebody dealing with some extreme PTSD.
I think that scene probably doesn't get the credit it deserves because again, story building, again, storytelling. You don't know all that about Krrsantan, right? She gives you a quick minute dialogue of this is how great you were. This is where you're from. This is what people look at you as. At the same time, you're seeing his anger and everything and his depression. I mean, you know now he's lonely, he's sad, he needs something as well, right? So it goes back to that family thing where they're bringing back the island of the misfit toys, and so you see that, but they still go for the extra little ripping off the arm thing there of the Trandoshan. But I thought that was a great scene because here's a guy who's broken, but he still pays. When she's like, "Don't do it, your debt's paid," he's like, "No, I'd rather do it. Here, take my money." But then to see Boba track him down and say, "You look like you need a job. You look like you need something to fill a void in your life," right? And so, again, going back to my first thing that I talked about this show from the very beginning, story building, depth of characters, depth of world building. They're doing it all in these shows right here. Anybody else thoughts on Garza Whip, the Black Krrsantan?
I mean, I do love that we know now that he is an elite level close combat unarmed fighter. And when I say unarmed, I mean ungunned because, obviously he has those sick dusters. But it makes more sense now why he would assault Boba's squad without a gun. Like he can use a gun, sure, but like he is a close quarters, close combat, hand-to-hand master.
Did anybody else feel like Alfie's dreams were coming true in the next scene where we were basically having the Godfather scene over the Rancor pit in Boba's palace? I mean, that
It was
felt,
like the same scene from The Godfather.
Yep.
Exact same scene.
And it's a strong play too because he knows that he doesn't have the resources and his argument is not strong enough to get people to betray the Pikes to come to be on his side, but he also knows that he's got a little more up his sleeve maybe than they even realize because like we said, he's got the Cyber Teens, he's got the Pig Bros, he's got the Rancor, he's got Chris, he may ride the Rancor, and now he's we think, I mean, got Din Djarin rolling in. Din has the Darksaber. Is he still hanging out with Bo-Katan? Have they worked that out? Are all of them going to show up? Like, who knows, dude? This thing could blow up.
When I was talking to Marc Newbold of StarWars.com, great guy. I wish we could have him on more, but he's in England, so timing is always difficult. But he works for StarWars.com, and he basically was telling me, Book of Boba Fett is basically Mandalorian season 2.5.
Yeah,
because it's going to wrap in some things that happened before or after and between that next Mandalorian season, and we're finally seeing that. I think that's finally going to come to fruition. Like you said, when she says credits by muscle and the Mando theme plays after that meeting, right then and there, I'm going, holy crap! We're bringing the gang back together, and who else is going to get roped into this? Alfie all along has been saying this is the MCU of Star Wars right here, and man, they are laying it out piece by piece. So, your guys' thoughts on that theme playing and where we go from here on that. Go ahead, Alf.
Okay, before we get into that, because I really want to get into that, that's, got us all super hyped.
Okay.
The scene where with Black Krrsantan, two quick things that I picked up on watching it. The Transdoshans were playing Kazakh from Knights of the Old Republic and using the deck that's in the game.
Oh,
Okay.
wow. I played a little bit of Knights of the Republic on my cell phone one time. I said never played it. I played a couple hours, and I did play actually a lot of that card game, like a little blackjack style game almost.
Mm-hmm. And then two, what's the woman's name again that runs the place?
Garsa Whip.
Her earrings are you go back to the episode of Rebels where Hera goes to get her family heirloom from
Yeah.
Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Yeah.
Her earrings are the same shape as that.
Alfie, let's go.
I had it on my phone in the notes, but since my computer died, I can't switch back.
Let's go.
I can't remember the name of what that is called.
I know it,
real lore master stuff right there, dude.
it's like an Aurora Rory or a Laura Rory or something. It was I know
Tori.
Yes, but it's her family members like on a family tree thing,
Right.
coming down on that like T or whatever down. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I remember Kanan and Hera finding that and him getting it back to her. So, man, Alfie, I don't know. My brain again, that adult ADD. I can't focus on those little things like that. Nicely done. Nicely done.
That scene with we got to get some muscle and the theme playing.
Oh my God.
Surely Filoni and Favreau are not that cruel to, you go back to
doesn't show up. He just
if you go back to the 2 seasons of Mando, they use a lot of musical cues to imply things, like Snoke, the Emperor, even a little bit of Kylo Ren when Grogu is in the Imperial garrison, but that never really amounts to much. So, is this a tease? God, I hope it's not a tease, and he really does show up.
Go ahead, DDoc.
See, I actually have an alternate thought on this, and I would love for Mando to show up, but I can't help but to think that with what he might have going on right now, is money going to be the thing to bring Mando there? Because I feel like Mando has a debt to Boba at this point. I feel like he's almost similar to Fennec, where it's like, if Boba needed Mando, he'd be there for him without money, in my opinion, because he saved Mando's ass a while ago. So I for some reason, like,
did we lose Dave?
What's that?
Oh no, I thought we lost.
I can hear.
You're good. You're good.
Yeah.
I would love for him to show up, but I almost think they're gonna visit Grief Karga. I kind of think they're gonna see him. I don't know why my mind went to that they're gonna go visit him and go to the den and see if they can get some boys. That's where my mind went.
Yeah, see, my mind went to, if it's not Den, then his music just means bounty hunters, and that's what he's kind of creating a family of. So what if he just hires all the old school bounty hunters?
Favreau's just gonna hire the heavy Mandalorian from season 1 just so he can be that character again.
That would be
put himself back in the story. No, I want it to be Din, and then like at night, I want somebody to walk into Din Djarin's room, and he's basically gonna be like FaceTiming with Baby Yoda at Luke's Jedi temple, and he's like, "All right, yeah, how you doing?" Yeah, that'd be, and then you see Luke be like, "Hey, come on, Grogu." That would make me so happy. It's never gonna happen, but
yeah, because we kind of skipped over in our last episode that payphones are now canon in Star Wars.
Oh yeah, that's right, dude. That's right. Wait, is it canon that gonk droids explode? Was it a gonk droid that got blown up in this episode?
It was.
Wow. So gonk droids are now like the red barrels of the Star Wars universe, the old video game trope. I mean, you shoot them, they're going to blow up. Okay.
They're just power droids. Yeah.
I guess it makes sense. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense then. I never considered that. But yeah, it was so heartbreaking when Grogu and Din Djarin say goodbye to one another. I hope that they get to stay in contact in some way. But okay. On a more serious note, though, for real, if it is Din Djarin, what the hell is going to be going on with the Darksaber? Because that's not like a situation where you just like let it lie, right? It's not like, okay, you can leave with it and we'll figure this thing out later.
Well, he's got a spear now and a sword. You just give him a shield, and I mean, he's like the Mandalorian Spartan.
Yeah,
That's what we've always, imagined the Mandalorians as being. So just give him a shield and a red cape and call him a Spartan.
that's why I feel like, look, the Pikes are obviously powerful if they're taking over entire planets, right? They're very, very powerful in the spice trade. I wonder if Bo-Katan will still be with him because they haven't resolved the Darksaber situation. I don't know. And maybe it won't be him. I get into it. Maybe it is Grief Karga. Who knows?
So
IG-88? Or not IG-88, but do any IGs get in the mix at all? I don't know. Oh, wait, Joe, I think you're muted.
I did. I've been trying to unmute just because my sound is not that great tonight. Real quick question, timeline wise, like we said, we were bringing it up to the right timeline, but when does he see Ahsoka to find out where Mando is during the Mando season 2? Does Boba Fett track her down for her to tell him to go where he's got Grogu on that rock? Because that's what we see him show up in the fire spray.
Yeah, because that's what we don't know, right? We don't know how they find his armor.
Yep. Go ahead, Alf.
Though I've been trying to think about that because, like everyone knows, I just think about Star Wars crap all day. You could logically go with he tracks Mando to Cobb Vanth and the mechanic. But the only person that knows he went to Ahsoka was Bo-Katan. And when they meet in The Mandalorian season 2, it doesn't seem like they've met before.
It's a good point.
But she's also the only one that knew he was going to that planet. What is it? Tython? I think, or wherever the Jedi rock was.
Yep.
And that really doesn't seem like a very easy place to find or a place where anyone goes. So let's be really lucky if he just happened to pick that planet. But Mando did have a tracker on his ship, so I don't know if he used that or not.
Yeah, maybe he's like cragging some sort of Imperial communications or First Order communications or something.
Yeah, because it was the First Order that destroyed the Razor Crest, correct?
The Imperial Remnants.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I get that. Okay, that then makes the most sense to me. Is that he goes to Cobb Vanth? Maybe he gets some information there. Then maybe goes to the Imperials, get some information there. I didn't get the feeling that we're gonna have any more back to tank flashbacks, but if we did, that could be the next storytelling elements if you wanted to.
Yeah, that's really the only few missing pieces that I'm looking for, is that connection to get him to the Tython where Grogu's on the rock. Which, by the way, we forgot to talk about after it's a silly line, but after Krrsantan ripped off that arm, Garsa Whip just says, "Hit it, Max," to get Max Rebo playing again. I think I need a shirt that just says "Hit it, Max." I thought that was just a little one-liner. Any other thoughts as we end the show, as we end this episode of Book of Boba Fett? Any other things we're missing? I know DDoc, did you have a couple questions, or go right ahead?
I did have someone. Let me bring up the Twitter post here. Sorry, I'm looking for it, but I do have 2 points after this Twitter post as well, though. But here's the question. It was from regular timeline Hank. He said, "I feel like those who last saw Boba and Jedi think this show is soft, but those who have actually read his anthology or watched his YouTube live videos realize his actions are valid. He's always been a chaotic neutral type, not a badass killer. Where do you all stand on this?"
Well, it's kind of funny to me too. If you're only using what we actually saw in the original trilogy, then Boba's not soft. He's just fucking horrible. He's just not very good at his job. He's just like not a good fighter. But the whole thing is, he just looks so cool. His design is so incredible that in our heads, we all made him into the unstoppable tank. Now, Mando season 1, we see that he indeed is that unstoppable tank
Correct.
that we always kind of imagined him to be. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, if you're coming from a Jedi perspective, it's like, what did you really have to even build that off? Like, they didn't actually show us anything that was like Boba Fett's like ruthless or it's a hardcore killer. We didn't really get any of that.
I think he probably was ruthless and a killer, or wanted to be. I'm not sure he ever got to that point really after his dad was killed in Clone Wars, where he was trying to find that group, that gang, to become a bounty hunter and to be tough. The only person he really wanted to go after was Mace Windu. So I don't know if we just put it in our heads that he's this BA guy who's completely evil all the time. I think he's neutral. I think he goes where he gets paid, and he's probably, like you said, T-Bob, he had a rebirth, and so he is different. But I think that adds to the story and makes it even better. I don't know that I would like it if he was just this assassin, killer, bounty hunter only in this story. Go ahead, Alfie.
Okay, most of what we know or grew up with Boba Fett was wiped out. That those stories, aren't canon anymore. But using them in retrospect, he never was just a killer. He worked for the rebels and he worked for the Empire.
Yeah.
Some of the best stories that I liked were, I think it was the Han Solo trilogy, where him and Han Solo keep crossing paths, but they're not really against each other. But at the end, he goes to the Mos Eisley Cantina and tells Han Solo personally, "Hey, those rebels you were helping, they're all dead."
That was the AC Crispin trilogy, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's after they've had their run-ins in the original trilogy, and is Boba just kind of telling like,
It's
just
way
like, hey, it's
before.
just business. Okay, it's way before. Okay.
Yeah. And they're not really, they're kind of pitted against each other. I can't remember the exact story, but it kind of weaves in and out. And then there was another story I really liked. I think it may have been in the Tales of Bounty Hunters or something, where, it's an old Boba and an old Han who run into each other, and at gunpoint, they kind of talk about how they're both the same. They're old, they're broken down. We've lived rough lives. I got you, you got me. Let's just turn around and call it a day. But
great.
So much of what we think of Boba Fett, to me, where we get this perception is he was the coolest figure that we had.
Yeah.
He was the one we played with the most. And anyone our age group, when you saw Din Djarin with the darksaber, that went right back to us being kids. Everyone gave Boba Fett a lightsaber and said, how badass would this be?
Yes, I mean 100%. Yeah, I've always thought it's just such a fascinating testament to the power of design, and just how when you really nail a design, it can speak to you almost on like a genetic level, just like ingrained in us to be like, whoa, that dude looks fucking awesome.
Think about how much of his story influenced and created stories we've been devouring for the past 20 years.
Yeah.
He was given a backstory in episode 2 that basically started the Clone Wars, carried through the prequel trilogy, the Clone Wars cartoon, Rebels, Bad Batch, into Mando live action, and now into his own series. Off of a character that has 5 lines in 2 movies.
I mean, how damn cool is the figure? This is from 97. This is from 1997.
That's the one that I had.
It is just awesome. I
still have that out of box in my closet today. It just chills next to my underwear. I don't know why. Just him. There's nobody else.
I can't help but to relate it for some reason, as we've been there. It is. Yeah. If anyone's watching on YouTube, we're showing off Boba Fett action figures right now, and Alfie is going to his shrine right now.
Hell yeah.
Oh, and he's making me want to open the boxes with that shelf. Definitely. I can't help but to relate it though, as far as fan reactions go. my mind for some reason goes to Game of Thrones and the White Walkers and the Night King, and you were going to have this whole big build up to this big battle that everybody wanted at the end, and it didn't go the way they wanted it to. And it's like, I feel like when there's mystery behind somebody, everyone creates their own storyline that they envision the person or situation being like. And then once the story is told, then people might have issues with it because that's not the vision that you had. But like I put down in my notes, I mean, even building off of this, I wrote, like, as far as this show goes, we care about Gamorreans, we care about Tuskens, we care about Banthas. Like, this show is building on levels of emotion in Star Wars that we never thought we would have. Like, we care about all these characters that we did not think we would care about before, really. Like, they were kind of just extras, and they're all part of this Boba Fett story of watching him grow as a character. So to me, they're doing a great job at it.
I want to drink a black melon. I do. I want to know what it tastes like.
They become addictive. He said it himself.
Sounds like it. I mean, shit, I get, yeah, you in the desert for sure, man. Like, you know, any liquid's gonna go down good, but it just looks so weird with its little like dusty kind of, it's like little black ashy kind of remnants that come off when you crack that thing open. Yeah, I want to drink a black melon for sure.
Maybe they should have one of those at Galaxy's Edge. We'll see if we can get that done.
Okay, there we go.
I tell you what, I was gonna say, we'll finish up. For some reason, my internet's acting weird as we're finishing up here. So, Alfie, go ahead and hit us with something.
Just to further this just a little bit, one of the things that intrigued us as kids with Boba Fett, he is the one character in the trilogy that didn't cower, clear their throat, be apprehensive about confronting Vader. Vader got in his face and he got right back. And that little scene right there started this whole obsession with Boba Fett.
That's a good point. I am Boba Fett. Should have told that to Vader back in the day.
I guess I have a question. Have we ever found out? I know in the comics, Boba Fett and Vader still interact, even in the current ones. Does Boba Fett know who Darth Vader is underneath that mask?
I can't imagine that he would, right? Well, I don't think anybody knows, do they? I mean, like Ahsoka barely knows.
Ahsoka, Bail Organa, Tarkin, the Emperor, Thrawn,
Obi-Wan,
Yoda.
That's very
true.
few and
Boba's
far
in the
between.
know. It could be. I mean, it could be. I will say this. I do love that the more the Star Wars ethos grows, all roads do always feel like they lead back to Anakin, as they should, right? In a lot of way, he is the fallen Jesus angel of this story. But like when Boba's Tuskens his village of Tuskens gets slaughtered, I couldn't help but think about what Anakin's aftermath was like when he probably took out like an even larger tribe and just really kind of drove home how intense and visceral that must have been, just slaughtering all those sand people.
Crazy. I love how it brings things back like that. I do not want to cut it short, but for some reason my internet's acting weird and I don't want to lose this great show that we've been putting together. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to go around the room. Any closing thoughts? I'm going to go alphabetical here. So, Alfie, any closing thoughts before we shut down chapter 120 of Rule of the Galaxy?
I love this episode. I can't wait to see more. I really, am buying into, like you said, I've said it all along. I think this is all building into one cohesive story. This episode, especially that last ending, felt like a Marvel, cut scene.
Yeah,
we got to see the next movie. I just am really just blown away by this story. Going from where we started with the original trilogy, and then thinking back to being excited for the Ewok series, to where we are now.
Right.
I do not understand how anyone can complain.
Yep. There's something good for everybody in this series right here. So, yeah, I agree. DDoc, how about you?
I just want to say that Ming-Na Wen and Jessica Biel are both 58 years old. And
Wow.
my God, that's all I'm going to say.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, that's I watch with my buddy, and he's just like every time Ming-Na Wen or what's Jessica Biel's character's name again? I gotta like imprint this in my brain.
Garza Whip.
Garza Fwip. Anytime Garza Fwip or Fang Shan show up, my buddy will always be like, and I'm just like, dude, they're both 58 years old.
That's Jessica Biel?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
From Flashdance.
Damn.
Born in I want to say born in November and December of 1963, the two of them. Oh my God. That's how I'll finish it. And how can you not like this show? If people don't like it, I don't know how you can. That's my final statement.
I love it. I love it. D-Bob, how about you? Thanks for coming back and joining on with us again. As
Yeah.
always, it's a pleasure to have you on and talk the wars. Any closing thoughts from you? Anything going on in your life that we need to know about before we have you on next time down the road?
No. Look, I love coming on here to talk with you boys. It's always super fun, and like I think I'm kind of with you. I'm not trying to be an echo chamber here, but I'm genuinely loving the show, and I look forward to it every Wednesday. And I think it's really done such a good job of laying the groundwork for what could be a really epic finish here over the next couple. And it's just I like Alfie said, for us Star Wars nerds, we definitely live in a blessed time indeed. And we're about to get full suited Boba action scenes, which I'm very excited for, right? Like that we haven't gotten since Mando season 2. So, and I mean, anytime, like I said, watching Krrsantan just continue to fight's going to be awesome too.
It definitely is. It definitely is. We appreciate you being here again. Alfie and DDoc, always thank you for being here. I think in chapter 5, we've got Scott Rifen coming on. Chapter 6, we've got Steve Glosson coming on. And in chapter 7, to finish it on the finale, we have Mark Anthony Austin, who played Boba Fett in Star Wars A New Hope. So, the special edition, Star Wars A New Hope. So we'll be finishing up with Boba after chapter 7 of Boba. But D-Doc or T-Bob is always one of our favorites. We'd have him on every week if he wasn't too busy and we weren't too busy. And but we love having him on. We love doing the show for you guys, for the listeners and the followers. Thank you so much for growing what we're doing here at Rule the Galaxy. I mean, every week, more followers, more listeners, more people interacting with us. We cannot thank you enough. And again, we are going to April 29th through May 1st. We're going to be in Nashville for the ICCC convention, which is collectors and fan bases of different franchises. And Ian McDermott, the Emperor, is going to be there. We're hoping to get an interview or to talk with him. So we're excited about that. But just keep following us. We'll have some more ideas on merch coming out soon before we go and do that. And always follow us at Rule the Galaxy SW on Twitter, Rule the Galaxy SW at gmail.com. Just Rule the Galaxy on Facebook and YouTube. And until next week, may the Force be with you.